Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below. Let's get right to it. Well, today was the changing of the guard here in the United States, of course. The inauguration took place yesterday. Joe Biden is now the 46th President of the United States. We've been through a lot in the last 4 years, dealt with a lot from our former president. But I'm not here to talk about him anymore. I don't care. I don't care what he did. I don't care what he's done. He's gone. And that's where we need to begin. We need to begin with starting anew. A new hope, as it were. Because as Joe Biden took the oath of office this morning, it signaled a change in the way we do business here in the United States. It's a change because now we're actually going to have somebody that's doing the job not for themselves, but for the American people. And I think that's going to be awesome. Joe Biden may not be the best candidate in the world, or may not even be the best president, but you know what? We need to give the man a chance. That's all there is to it. We need to give the man a chance. There's a lot of things he's already done here in his first day in office, half day even. After the inauguration, he got busy with executive orders. And some of those had to do with the Keystone Pipeline, rolling back deregulation, basically, that was going to allow pipelines in certain areas, from what I've read. He ended the Muslim ban on travel into the United States, considering that ban that Donald Trump had put in place actually did nothing to deter these people, that are people that would actually do damage to this country, from coming here, because the places that actually had people coming to America causing the most damage were not on the list, i.e. Russia. And as well, Saudi Arabia. So those things were done. And there are a number of picks here for his cabinet that look good. They look like they may easily pass if some of the Republicans will get off their high horse and let them be approved. It's a very diverse candidate, or cabinet picks. And being diverse is good. I think it shows a better, view of what America is. We're not all white. We're not all one race or this or that. You know what I'm saying? We need voices from everybody. Also, Joe Biden has also appointed a transgender person as the assistant to the health secretary, or assistant health secretary over in the Department of Health and Human Services, which I think is awesome. It's about time that the trans community had actual representation within our government, at the federal level. We've heard of, candidates getting elected at the state level, maybe even in the House and places like that. But in the government, where they actually, come up with a lot of the policy that is enacted, it's about time that there's an openly transgender person in an office where they can actually have some input into what's going on. And especially at the federal level. It's about time for that. He also put back in place protections for the LGBTQ community in the workplace. Basically reenacting something that was removed after the Obama administration by the previous administration, before Joe Biden took office. Protections to make sure that they're not able to be fired at work simply because of who they are, which, of course, the Supreme Court did already rule on that, but this makes it clear that this administration will not tolerate discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender. At the end of the day, it seems like the world has just breathed a big sigh of relief by Joe Biden taking office. Except maybe those people in the government in China. Because the people, as we move forward, the Biden administration has already pointed that they see China as the next growing and ascending military threat to America and to the global community at large. Now, I don't know how much we're going to see of that, because there's not a whole lot I think we can really do when it comes to, affecting China all that much. I mean, we do owe them so much money that it's about ridiculous that we would even consider anything, um, outside of protecting ourselves and defending Taiwan as we've said we would. But honestly, I think that we are turning a corner here in America. I believe, for at least for the next few years, we will have a president who, one, cares about the American people, cares about you, cares about me, to a point. As in, I believe he'll be able to be nudged in the right direction to help the working class in this country. While at the same time, he probably won't. I mean, he won't go as far to the left as many of us would want, and he will not go up against the billionaire class. He won't do it. It's not going to happen. Don't expect it to happen. But at the same time, I don't believe he is going to angle towards giving them tax cuts. I don't believe he will angle towards giving them tax cuts and giving you no help at all. I believe that in the end he will bring back some of the funding levels to certain entitlement programs such as food stamps and such that have been slowly reduced over the last 4 to 12 years almost now. Because I think he realizes that without food stamps, people are not going to be able to feed themselves throughout the rest of this pandemic. He also signed a federal mask mandate for all federal properties. So if you're going to a federal property and they hadn't been requiring you to wear a mask because, say, it's in a state where people don't care about their fellow Americans and if they're going to live or die or get COVID and die, you will now be required to wear a mask on federal property. He's also requesting, basically, that we all wear a mask when we go out in public for the next 100 days. I think this is an awesome way to do things. I think making it seem like an option is better than being like, you will do this, right? And I get that. And I get this, some people have been upset because they're being told they have to, right? But the thing is, it was states that were saying you had to, because the states know more about what their capacity is than the federal government. When states say that they need people to wear masks or stay home, it's because they can't afford any more people in the ER. They can't afford any more beds. Here in Oklahoma, the last check is there's 5% capacity left of ICU beds in the entire state. In the entire state, there's 5% availability. In many states, if you have other problems, they're not able to even take you because they don't have a room for you, because so many people have COVID. Down in the North Texas area, I believe it was Parkland Hospital, put in down in the waiting areas, turned it into basically a triage center and another COVID wing, because there's just no place to take care of people anymore. The hospitals are busting at the seam. So in that vein, Joe Biden is also working to speed up the distribution of the vaccine. Of course, we've seen that the previous administration has utterly failed to get it out quickly. I don't know if they were doing that on purpose or if they were just inept at their job. Now, here's the thing. I want to be very clear that just because Joe Biden is president doesn't mean this virus is just magically going to disappear. We just need people that actually are going to listen to scientists and doctors who know what's going on with the damn virus. Because Joe Biden is not a doctor. He's not going to be able to explain to you what the virus is doing and how it's spreading and why we need to wear a mask. All he can do is take the advice given by the scientists and the doctors and say, hey folks, it's about time that we work together as Americans to solve this. And I think that's what we need to do going forward. I really don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, a socialist, whatever, right? I don't care what you are. At the end of the day, we as Americans need to come together and work together. That's all we can do. That's it. There's nothing else we can do. At this point, with the way the virus has gone, the way things have been recently, we need to come together. We literally need to come together to create a new hope going forward. Now, my hope is that this presidency will at least bring some semblance of normalcy, because we're not going to see him on Twitter. We're not going to see him, making false accusations about things all the time. But don't get me wrong. Joe Biden's not a perfect person. Nobody's perfect. Do I believe he's going to lie 31,000 times? No. Do I think he'll be absolutely honest every time or correct every time he speaks? No. He's a politician at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I think we can all come together. We can all work together to solve the crisis that we're in right now, rebuild our economy, and move forward. But the one thing he's going to have to do to be able to keep my support is he's going to have to work for the working class. He can't just sit up there on his high horse and help the billionaire class and the millionaire class and be okay with that. He's going to have to get down to the trenches and help those people in the working class. And I think he's going to go a long ways by trying to provide the $1,400 extra payment to the people, $75,000 in less in yearly income. Now, I've been reading some articles from CNN, and CNN says that they don't, or some of the analysts and economists are saying that they don't think this will work. That they don't think the $1,400 is going to work because a lot of the people getting it aren't suffering from the COVID virus, haven't lost their jobs or this or that. But I can tell you right now, because of the way prices are, the way you can't leave your house, even if you're making $100,000 a year, you're having to pay more for groceries because you may be too scared to go to the grocery store. You may not be able to go out and do things, so you're staying home more. You're sending someone to the store to buy your groceries through, Shipt or Ibotta or Walmart Plus, or as I use a local person here, who is far better than any of those services. If you live in the Norman area, let me know, and I will give you a link if possible, if the person is willing to let me do so. But they are it's great. I don't mind helping people, but at the same time, that makes my groceries cost more because I'm scared to go to the store. I'm scared to leave the house, and I know a lot of people are like that because they have young kids at home, or they have an expecting wife at home, or they have an immunocompromised family member, such as the situation we find here with me. Because sure, my wife could easily go to the store. We could find a way to get her to a store. But the problem is that's putting me at risk too. Because maybe she'd get rid of it, but I sure wouldn't. And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one like that. So yeah, there may be people making $100,000 a year that you think aren't hurting, but they are. They're having to pay more for products. They're having to pay more for people to go get their products. If they want to have a decent dinner instead of having to cook, they have to order from somewhere, so that pays more money. It keeps adding up. And so many people that had that kind of income last year don't have it now. By the end of 2020, a lot of them lost their jobs. Their businesses closed. So yes, these people need help. And I don't think it matters. I think the threshold of 175 for an individual and whatever it was for a couple, I think it's far too low. Because you got people out there, they may have been making $200,000 or $300,000 a year because of their small business, but their small business is gone. Their restaurant is closed. Their food truck is gone. Or people that, sure, they made a lot of money, but then they lost, half their family or more to the virus. Or they didn't really lose their job, but they got COVID and they were in the hospital for 2 or 3 weeks or a month. They were unable to work during that time, and then they got a bill for being at the hospital. So yes, I think all Americans, regardless of, really how much, especially, if they're billionaires and millionaires, and maybe they're not hurting as much. But millionaires could be, because that could be your small business owners losing money. Am I worried about the billionaires and the major corporations? No. They'll be fine. Maybe not the airline industry, but is the airline industry ever fine? No. It's always on the brink of bankruptcy. Just ask Mr. Wonderful. He's talked about it on Shark Tank a number of times, and in interviews afterwards. So, really, at the end of the day, we all need the help. So the economists, you may have economists out there that say, oh, it's not going to help the economy because not everybody getting the money was hurt to the same degree. And that's true. But you know what? It still hurt. You still have people that were making lots of money, over $100,000 a year, losing their homes because they lost their job or they got sick and couldn't make their mortgage payment. So if they were to move that up to $150 an individual, I probably wouldn't. You won't see me complaining here on the Big Rant Show. Now, I don't know y'all's thoughts on it. Please let me know in the comments. Now, other things I want to talk about going forward is I believe Congress has the chance to do a lot of good because of the way the Senate rules were left by the Republican Party in the previous Senate terms. They've made things to where it's a 51 vote threshold for most votes, even Supreme Court justices. Now that was all started by an idiot who was a Democrat from Nevada, and he was the Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader, who went nuclear on some judicial nominees. And of course, Mitch McConnell, when he took over, he decided that meant that we will also get rid of it for Supreme Court justices, and then we got Amy Coney Barrett. And of course, just as Trump was leaving Washington, they gave him one brand new win, which was a restriction on the use of the abortion drugs, pills, and stuff like that. And so she's already made good on her promise to ban abortion. She's already working on that. So we do have to be careful about that. I think it's something Congress may have to work on to be able to work around that if that comes in the next 4 years. Heck, in the next 2, they need to get it done. But speaking of Congress, we have the Democrats control both chambers of the Congress right now, as of today. And in the end, we have to do something. We can't just lollygag around and dick around like we're not doing anything for the next few years. Okay, we did this at the first part of the Barack Obama administration. We focused solely on the ACA, and we got nothing but the ACA. And didn't even get the ACA that Barack Obama wanted. Did it help a lot of people? Yes. Did it have everything that we needed to make it fully successful? No. So do we need to add that, try and get that stuff into the ACA now? Yes. Do we need to work towards a single payer system? Yes. And I don't mean get rid of all private insurance. That's not what I'm talking about. Because yes, I'm a democratic socialist, but at the end of the day, I'm a capitalist when it comes to the market. I still want innovation. I still want people to make money. All I want is everyone to have the same starting place. I don't want people starting, well below everybody else. But I do believe in the system. But my thought is this: let the private insurance have its way, continue going, through the ACA and all that stuff, but also find a way to pass a bill to offer a nationwide, subsidized health care program for all Americans. If you have very low income, it should be free, and it should be based on your income going up from there incrementally. But it has to be reasonable. Okay? We can't just make it well over the price of normal private insurance. It should be at a lower cost. Then, put the two up side by side. See who wins. Let the market decide, right? If people want to continue their private, overly expensive healthcare plans where nothing gets covered hardly, but roughly 80% of what you do, fine. If they want a full plan that covers almost everything, minus a few copays here and there maybe, then they can have the single payer plan. And see which one people want more. I guarantee you, once people got a sniff of a cheaper healthcare plan covering more healthcare needs than their private insurance, people will flock, and I mean flock, to the single payer program, which they could then start adding more things to, because more people will be buying into the system. I don't believe forcing people to do it is going to get the job done. I believe that we're going to have to work together to make it. You have to let people see it. You have to let people see how it works before they'll decide if they like it. Because I knew a lot of Republicans back when we passed the ACA that said they didn't like it. And after it started coming into effect, and all of a sudden they started getting that subsidy for helping their families stay insured, to where their children could go to the doctor whenever they needed to, all of a sudden you saw people being like, hey, this might work. So we've got to rebuild a lot of the things that the previous administration stripped out and tried to do to hurt the ACA. But we also need to start moving towards a single payer system, or else Americans are going to be have vastly inadequate health care. Moving on to other things. In economic news, we need to, with our economy the way it is, we're going to have to work together as Americans to fix it. In Congress, we're going to have Republicans and Democrats work together to solve our economic crisis at the moment. Just because a new president has taken office doesn't mean those disappear. One thing I think is we're going to have to extend the payments, the direct payments. A one-time check of even $2,000 wasn't going to get people done very long. With how slow the rollout has been going and how the numbers continue to rise for COVID, we're going to need at least another 1 or 2 checks down the road. So go ahead and get it done now, so there's no uncertainty. Be like on the 15th of March, another check is going to hit, period, regardless of what's going on. And then on the same thing for May. Do it, maybe not do it every month. If that's not feasible. But we've got to do something. Because money to the American people is the best way to save our economy. I'm going to believe Mr. Wonderful, from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, when he says the best thing to do is not to pick winners or losers in the sphere of business, but put the money in the people's hands. That way they can go out and spend the money as they see fit. That way it can get the economy going again. Because if I could get enough money to be able to make sure our rent's not concerned, there's other things I could purchase. or try to save up for. But right now, with things in flux, I can't do some of the things I need to do. For example, I need to replace the computer that you are seeing this video coming from. Unfortunately, it's 5 years old almost now, and it's very much slowing down. But I trudge along because it's almost impossible at this moment in time to replace one for me. Because even with that money coming, it's not going to change that fact, because I still got to make sure I can pay rent. That's the most important thing for my wife and I right now, is make sure we can pay rent and buy food. So, not to mention my cat is not it has not been cheap over the last year due to his kidney diagnosis. So we have old stuff plus new stuff plus rent is always going to be a necessary evil. So putting money in the hands of the American people that can go out and they can spend the money, that will help get the economy rolling. That will help more people or more businesses be able to hire more workers. So I believe that is one facet to getting our economy rolling. 2, we need a full program of grants, not loans, but grants to small businesses to help businesses stay afloat. Because I don't believe, because this was caused by a government calamity, basically, a government screw up. That is why COVID is as bad as it is. Because of inept leadership. That is why we are where we are. So I think our government owes it to the American people, not only to put money directly in our hands, but also to put money directly in the hands of small business owners so they can employ their workers, keep their doors open the best they can. And I believe businesses are going to have to work on their end too to do more curbside stuff, to where you can call ahead and be like, hey, I want to buy this, this, and this. And they say, okay, you'll have it ready, and you call them when you get there. There's a guy that owns a bookstore back down where I used to live, and he's been doing the same thing for people. My vet for my cat does the same thing. You take the cat, you call them, they come get the cat, they take the cat inside the building, they call you when the cat is done, you pick up the cat, they bring the cat to you, and you never go inside. I know that can't really be done for grocery stores, and I know it seems like the big box stores have been getting their more than their fair share of people, or money and work, where small mom and pop small businesses haven't been. And yeah, I understand that some places that is true. Bars and restaurants have been limited for public safety. And those people need to be made whole. I don't care if it's a bar that they ran or a restaurant or whatever. If their small business is failing, not because of the fault of their own, but because the government has had to shut them down for public safety when they did nothing wrong, they need to help them. They need to make these businesses whole. And I understand. People are going to start saying, but Jake, the deficit. What about the deficit? And I'm going to say, what about the deficit? Because when it comes down to it, we have got to work together. And these people have got to be made whole. Human lives and ending human suffering is far more important to me than the damn deficit. Now, I don't want to start hearing either from the Republican Party in Congress, oh, the deficit, the debt. I don't want to hear it. Donald Trump rung up $7.8 trillion in new debt in 4 years, almost solely based off his tax program. Remember that massive tax cut for the billionaires he gave, where he swore the working class was getting a tax cut, when that tax cut had a sunset of 1 year to 2? Yeah. That one. That brought almost $4 some odd trillion in debt in 2 years. In the last 2 years. Meanwhile, They don't. The Democrats have taken office, and now I guarantee you, by next week, you will start hearing Republicans talking about fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility, folks, is what the Republicans will start talking about for the next 4 years. Don't buy it. Don't believe a word they say, because it's not true. They haven't cared a dang bit about fiscal responsibility in the last 4 years. So why are we going to tell them that they deserve to talk about fiscal responsibility when the American people need it? When it's not going to billionaires and trillionaires. And again, let me know in the comments what you think. But I don't really think that we're doing enough for our small business owners. You've got people like Amazon and Walmart. Yes, they employ a lot of people. But they also bankrupt a lot of small businesses. At the end of the day, small businesses are the bedrock of our economy. They are the backbone of this country. And if we let the small businesses fail, we will fail as a country. Our economy will be in the shitter forever and it'll never get out. So we need to give money to the American people. I believe that check should happen at least 1 or 2 more times after Biden gets these $1,400 checks out, which should have been just another plain $2,000 check. The $600 shouldn't have been even added to it. But it is what it is, right? We're getting that, but there needs to be another check down the road for the American people. And then we need to give grants to the small businesses of this country to get them up and running again, where they can hire more workers as the COVID numbers come down, and as they feel safe to do so. And as more people are able to enter back into society, get out there and actually be able to enjoy what it is to be an American. To be out there and do what you want, be happy, go where you want, and be able to go back to concerts and football games freely. There are a number of things that I wanted to do this last fall after I moved to Oklahoma, because I really thought COVID would die down at some point. I really hoped over the summer it would start to die down, and it did, but then it sprung back up. And so there's a lot of things I didn't get to do. There was a concert I wanted to go to. There was an AEW wrestling show that was going to be done right here in Norman, Oklahoma. I wanted to go to a Sooner football game. I wanted to go to a Sooner basketball game if I could find the ticket. All things I wanted to do. Dozens of restaurants here in the city of Norman that I wanted to actually go out to. But because of COVID, I was not allowed to. That means a number of businesses aren't getting my money, which means they're not getting a lot of other people's money either. Yes, you've got DoorDash and Postmates that you can go get food from. But you can't really be like, I really liked this drink. Can I get another one? A lot of charges that you might get are actually going to the Dashers and the Postmate drivers so you can get your food. So, yeah, I understand that we've been in a bad spot. But I do have hope. I have hope by the end of this year that with the vaccine coming out, the COVID numbers will start going down. And by the start of 2022, hopefully, COVID will start being a thing of the past. I'm hoping it's well before that. But a vaccine's not an end-all. It doesn't solve all our problems. Because there's variants and stuff that they're going to have to keep a watch on that may or may not be affected as much by the vaccines. But from what I'm seeing right now on the vaccine front, from what I've read as of right now, they don't believe it'll make the vaccine ineffective. It may not be as effective against the other strains, but it will still protect you from the other strains. It would be from what I read one article that said something to the extent that it'd be like a flu shot, where even if the strain of the flu that you get isn't in the flu shot, right? If there's one out there, you still have a better chance of survival in fighting it because your body already has the antibodies ready to go to attack it. So I do have hope, and I hope you do too, because going forward, that's all we have. All we can do is hope for a new, for the future, and just have new hope for the year. Going forward, we're really in the driver's seat, I think, at this point. We as Americans can either come together and work together, or we can choose to continue being divided and continue seeing our fellow Americans die from a virus that we can stop. They're saying over 450,000 will probably be dead by mid-April. Or mid-February. I'm sorry, let me get that right. Mid-February. We passed 350,000, and 400,000 very recently. And the night before the inauguration, the Bidens and others, part of his inauguration plan, paid tribute to the 400,000 dead Americans from COVID-19. So really, at the end of the day, even, if you don't like Joe Biden, you don't like his policies, you think he's this, you think he's that, whatever. Think what you will. But at least he cares. And that's what we need right now. We need somebody who is caring and compassionate. We need somebody in the Oval Office that understands grief, that understands, tragic loss, such as Joe Biden has dealt with. And he lost a wife and a daughter in a car wreck before he became a congressman. He lost his son, Beau, to a brain cancer. He lost his friend, John McCain, to brain cancer. He understands the grief that these families are going through. And I think we need that. I think we need somebody that can understand, that can empathize, who can calmly approach a situation and be like, folks, this is what we're doing. This is what's going on. This is how we fix it. Let's work together. So, here on the Big Ranch Show, or whatever the channel becomes in the future, yes, we will hold his feet to the fire. We will hold him accountable for things that he should do that he's not doing. But at the same time, we are going to give Joe Biden a chance to work for the working class, work for the poor, elderly, and disabled, work for the LGBTQ community, and especially going to push him until we see that EO is signed. We will push him to restore the trans youth rights and protections that the Barack Obama administration put in place, that the previous administration sadly got rid of with Betsy DeVos. And that is the last thing I want to talk about in this video. Over the last 4 years, the LGBTQ community, especially the trans community, has been under attack nonstop, day in, day out, since day one. Since day one of the Trump administration. Finally, we have a president who is actually at least going to try to help them. At least he's made promises to do so. He made promises to reinstate transgender people in the military. He's also said he'll reinstate the protections for trans kids. Now, we as liberals and we as allies of the LGBTQ community cannot stand idly by and be like, oh, he'll do it. No, we've got to call our congressman. We've got to write letters to the president. We've got to make it clear on social media that we will not rest until these protections are put back in place. We got to make sure that the youth of this nation are protected, especially trans youth. Now, in another video, I will have more things that I think we need to do going forward. Everything from, gun regulations and protecting our kids in schools to where we should go environmentally and on LGBTQ rights in general. That'll be later this week. But anyways, this has been the Big Ranch Show. I know this video has been a little long. I hope you will enjoy the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please come back for more here on the Big Ranch Show. Memberships, I believe I will start posting that stuff, making the videos for it and everything like that, starting February 1st is the plan. That's a tentative plan. I do not know that is for sure. But basically, we will start doing that. I've decided just to use the generic, some of the generic things that they offer on YouTube to get that set up. But there's also, I need to be able to figure out what to do for incentives and stuff like that for different membership levels. Because according to YouTube, they suggest to be most successful, they say you need like 3 tiers. That means 3 tiers of things to decide what to do. Now, what I'm probably just going to do on here on this channel, I'm going to keep the Patreon channel there. It's at $1 right over there. I'm thinking here on memberships here, it'll probably be 1 tier, and it's going to be a little different than the other one. I'm pricing probably $1.99 or $2.99, but you're going to get more here than over there at Patreon. And I will let you know how that's going to go. Like I said, I plan to do more videos specifically for my memberships, and then I'll keep doing the videos here for free, of course. But for the memberships, you're going to at least see 4 to 8 videos probably a month for whatever the fee is that I decide that I think is reasonable for what the content I'll be making. I think it'll be 4 to 8 videos, probably 2 each weekend, that are designed specifically for my members. Also, I will be making direct to my members, conversation pieces and talking and stuff like that through the posts on the YouTube platform. Where I can talk directly to the people that are members. And so we'll see how it all works out here in the near future. I'm also considering different ideas for a name for the show, but we will see if that changes at all. Also, do expect more videos over at Kicking It with Jake, What's the Gimp with the Camera channel. I do plan to start picking up videos over there. And anyways, it's been the Big Ranch Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.